welcome to Carousel. Appliance industry experts predict by the end of the year more than 2/3 of all American homes will have some type of microwave oven. If you're one of those owners, then you'll be interested in what my guest has to say today. I'm Carmen Roberts, and with me is Patty Kester-Smith, and she's here with lots of advice on microwave cooking and news about what's new with microwave ovens. I'd like to welcome you to the show, Patty.
Thank you, Carmen.
A lot of people think that cooking with a microwave is difficult. I mean, I know that when I first got mine, I didn't know what to do with it. Why is that?
Well, it's really much easier once you get used to it. If you look at microwave recipes, there are less steps, less dishes involved. But anytime you take on something new, it takes getting used to. You're not just going to take it home, plug it in, and learn overnight. Everybody has a few mistakes in the beginning, and the biggest mistake is usually overcooking.
I've done that many times. So basically, the microwave is for speed. That's
Speed
what
and
it's
convenience.
about.
It cooks in about 1/4 the time of conventional cooking, and sometimes much less. But one of the hardest things to realize is timing, because the more food, the longer it takes. One potato may take 3 to 5 minutes, but 4 potatoes may take 15 or 20 minutes. Shoot, we'll just throw in some of this corn right now. One ear would take 3 to 3.5 or 4 minutes, but several ears would take more time.
And you're going to cook this with the peel, the skin on the outside of it?
Yes, because vegetables need to be covered to steam them, and by doing it in the husk, it creates its own natural cover, and all your natural sugars are found in that silk. So it's going to be a much sweeter ear cooking it in the husk, if possible, if the husk is still on there. Plus, once it's cooked, the silk and husk just fall right off.
And so it's easier to shuck afterwards?
It's much easier,
Oh,
yes,
great.
and it's one of the best ears of corn you'll ever have. Now, I would normally do this for about 3.5 minutes. Many microwaves today have a sensor feature. This one has a sensor. I touch sensor cook, fresh vegetables, #1, and start, and it just senses the vapors of the food, and it wouldn't matter if it was 1 or 3 or 5 or 6, however many ears of corn or potatoes or strips of bacon you have.
So it knows by the amount of vapors that are in inside
Right.
the oven whether it's done or not?
The aroma or the gases that are released by the food will detect, and this sensor cook 1 will disappear, and a time will flash up, and it won't take any longer than if you put in a time. But it takes some of the guesswork. Some of these ovens are a little smarter than we are.
I think that one's a lot smarter than I am. And you've brought some other things with you that we're going to cook today, which I think
Right.
it smells so good in here today. So the first thing, shrimp,
Yes,
right?
I thought I'd do some seafood since this is Florida, and seafood's one of my favorite dishes, because seafood, if you overcook it, it's very easy to overcook seafood, either conventionally or microwaving, and because of the moist cooking of microwaving, it's perfect for seafood, for the delicate texture of it. Just anything from opening oysters or clams or steaming clams or doing lobster.
Explain that.
Okay, if you wanted to have some raw oysters, but you needed to get those shells, the shells open, you could put them in a pie plate in a ring formation, cover it with plastic wrap. About 45 seconds is all you would need just to pop those shells open. And
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't have to spend all that time banging my hand with the oyster knife.
Not at all. We're going to do a shrimp scampi today. I've taken half a cup of butter, and I have melted it in here. It took 1 minute. 1 minute is all it took. And then we'll add 2 tablespoons of parsley flakes, minced garlic, some salt to this.
That's what I'm really good at, is melting things in the microwave.
It is good for that. Chocolate melts like magic in a microwave. But I made a lot of candies at Christmas time, but one of the secrets that you've got to remember is it holds its shape, so you need to come back and stir the chocolate, or it will overcook or scorch on you if you don't. We'll go ahead and put a pound of the jumbo shrimp in here and stir them around till they're coated with the, we need 2 tablespoons of lemon also, lemon juice. Fish is great done in the microwave. There's several different ways that fish can be done, and microwaving and dieting. Fish is one of the greatest things, because you don't have to use a lot of extra oils and butters and fats. You can save those allowances on your diet for for enhancing the flavor afterwards.
Well, and you're going to cover that. That's one of the tricks or
Yes.
keys to microwave.
Not all foods are covered, but something like this or vegetables would be covered. Now, this is going to take, the recipe says 3.5 to 5.5 minutes.
That's all?
You always take the minimum time, then if you need more, you add more, because several factors can influence cooking time. If this were very cold, it would take a little longer than if it were room temperature. If it was slightly more than the recipe called for, it might take a little longer. Possibly if it was 5 o'clock in the evening and everybody on the block, if they were all cooking, it might take a little longer than if we got up at 3 a.m. in the morning and cooked. So I'm going to start out with
the amount of energy that is being fed into your home affects it.
That's correct.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yes, the currency, because during like a brownout time when everybody's air conditioner is on and everybody's cooking and all the microwaves are on. A microwave really uses very little energy, though, less than a toaster, or in many cases, if you used one an hour and a half a day every day of the year for an entire year, the most most electricity it would cost you is about $9 to $12, and an electric range would cost maybe $75. So very energy efficient. Plus, you're eliminating all your pots and pans. You're not washing the dishes as much.
That I like a lot. Now, this is ready.
This needs to stand. The heat, there's no microwaves left in the food, but the heat that's left in there finishes the cooking process, just like, for instance, fish or shrimp. They would be just slightly opaque when they came out because the heat finishes cooking, just like eggs, like you were saying. So you see the steam coming off there. It will stand for a few minutes, and then it will be ready to eat.
That's hot, folks. Okay.
We want to stir this a couple of times during the cooking process. We'll stir the shrimp.
And is that just to keep the butter?
Well, a lot of it too, Carmen, even though in our case we're turning the food constantly, the shrimp towards the outside of the dish, the food towards the outside cooks first because microwaves do cook from the outside in. Therefore, if you had something like baked potatoes, 5 of them, instead of putting 1 in the center and 4 on each corner, you would put 5 around in a ring.
So they'll all be done at the same time.
Right. That's one thing that you learn very early in microwave cooking. Arrangement is important. In selecting microwave cookware, round shapes cook better than squares or oblongs because corners tend to overcooking in square dishes. So.
But I've seen a lot of dishes for microwaves that are square.
There are some that are square, but the best dishes, the ones that are designed for casseroles, soups, stews, are mostly round. Most of the manufacturers have gone to the round.
So it's something that they've learned along the way, too, is that, that round is better.
Right. I've brought several pieces of cookware
to kind of take a look at those then. And these are made of a special material, right?
Right. Most of them, some of the cookware today can be used in your regular oven up to 400 degrees or in a convection microwave oven. This is one of the most popular accessories. This is a meat rack or a bacon rack. Or for warming up sandwiches or cooking anything that you want.
And why does it have that grill-like structure in there?
So that chicken or bacon or a roast won't sit in its fat, because microwaves are more attracted to fat, and you might get undercooking on the bottom portions. Just so it has a little well
around the edges. Okay.
One of the most popular accessories today is a little wind-up turntable.
That, I think, is
to eliminate having to come back and turn your food.
So you wind it up, it's like a spring. You wind it up, it sets, and then you put the dish on top of it, and then it slowly turns.
So you don't have to come back and turn your food. Many brands do have a turntable in the oven, but this...
And you can just buy those at any store that sells microwave appliances?
Most stores, right. But if you buy the right dishes and so forth, and round dishes, some ovens are more even cooking than others, but if you don't have a turning system in your oven or a turntable, that is something that, believe it or not, is one of the most popular accessories in the industry today.
So wonderful. And I noticed that the dish isn't hot yet.
Well, the dish really will remain usually cool enough without hot pads. If I were cooking for a long period of time, or if it were something with a very high fat content, it might get hotter than this.
Now, why if it has a higher fat content, does it get
Fats and sugars heat up faster and get much hotter. Therefore, like if you were melting butter and sugar, you should use something that's got either a plastic that's made for high temperatures. This is something we're going to do later on, but this is one of my favorite accessories. This is plastic, but it's very sturdy, and I can melt butters and sugars. If it were a soft plastic or not intended for that use, the microwaves won't harm it, but the plastic cookware could actually warp or melt.
My husband has also melted a few pieces of plasticware in microwaves, and usually it was if I had something in it that got very hot, and now that I think about it, you know, it's either butters or something like that.
Right, like a Cool Whip container or Tupperware. They say, you know, you can store in it, or if it were just serving of vegetables, something that didn't have a high fat content, reheat in it. But if it were lasagna, it's going to warp it. This is one of my favorite accessories. This is a plastic colander, and it fits into a 3-quart casserole, or you could just use any kind of a plastic colander. I use this for anything from steaming vegetables by putting just a little water below my vegetables in here, or one of my favorite things is browning ground beef. You put the ground beef in there 4 or 6 minutes for about a pound of ground beef. Your fat runs through the colander here, and you have your drained ground beef.
That's a lot better than the way I do it.
And see, this, it appears square, but it's really got the round, it's more of a round shape, so you're not going to get your overcooking in the corner. This is a ring mold. This is the very best shape in a microwave. If you were doing a meatloaf or a salmon ring, or even, for that matter, cooking a stew, if you have the choice of cookware, this eliminates the coldest spot, or the last spot to heat, which is the center.
So by having the ring in here, does that allow the microwaves to, it just eliminates that, or does it allow the
just
microwaves
what you're saying. Microwaves are going to come from the top, the sides, the bottom, but in this case, they're also going to enter, microwaves go right through plastics or glass, ceramics, stoneware.
So they will be
they will enter from here and go into the food from there also.
So this is almost a must-have if you're going to be doing microwave.
It's very, very popular, and there are some really neat different types of recipes where I'll do my vegetables and then turn it out in a ring.
A point here says not for range top or broiler use. So microwave cookware is for the microwave, not to be used in a conventional oven.
Right. Now, some of the cookware, in a minute when we talk about convection microwaves, many pieces today can be used in your conventional oven up to 400 degrees. I don't believe any of the pieces that I brought today are of that variety.
I use a lot of glassware that can be used in both, so I guess that would be an example of what could be.
Right. Okay, look, there's our shrimp. It's standing, and it's been standing for a few minutes. And
I'm going to melt just like this butter. That smells so wonderful. It's just, and that's it to that? What else are you going to do?
You're ready to put it on the table. You're ready to serve it, and while that's standing for a few minutes, you'll have time to do some of your last-minute foods, or this is something one of the last foods, if I were doing baked potatoes, I would do them first and wrap them in foil after they came out of the microwave, because they'll hold their heat up to about 45 minutes when they're wrapped in foil, and those will stay. If you wanted to do corn on the cob, this is still as hot as can be, and so then now we have it all ready to go to the table. In my kitchen, I have 3 microwaves, and I use them all, but I do not have a conventional oven. I went for a year without a cooktop, and now I'm not allowed to use the cooktop because I'm incompetent. I've been cooking in my
They won't let you near one. And you brought cookies with you. What are you going to do with those?
Right. This is a convection microwave oven. And convection, this is for the type of person that really enjoys baking. They like to bake breads, cakes, pies. Microwave oven, since you're cooking with just energy, you don't have outside heat to really form a crust and give you golden brown crisping and searing and crusting, that sort of thing.
And that was always one of the complaints that a lot of cooks had about microwaves, that they couldn't brown their meats, or they couldn't brown their breads.
Right. Meats will brown to an extent because of the fat content in the meat. For instance, bacon has a high fat content, so it browns and crisps beautifully. A roast will brown, anything cooked over 10 minutes, or ground beef browning will brown enough for your chili or your
again,
tacos,
high fat
whatever.
content.
Right. But for baking, someone that enjoys baking and also wants the speed and convenience of a microwave, The state-of-the-art and the top of the line in the microwave industry today are convection microwave ovens. Now, what is convection? Professional chefs and bakers have been cooking with convection for many, many decades. All the best bakeries in town, all of the best restaurants use convection ovens. It's fan-forced hot air, putting a high-speed fan, a cow rod heating element in the top, blowing hot air anywhere from as low as 100 degrees, as high as 450 degrees into the oven cavity, surrounding the food, crusting, sealing in the moisture, and searing roasts or steaks for broiling. This oven would cook in 4 different ways, 4 methods of cooking.
Convection just means having that warm air circulating.
Yes,
going
so
around?
you can bake, and that's why I've got these metal pans, because they will be used in convection, or I can use metal in my unit in combination. Okay, it's just a microwave oven for things like vegetables, seafoods, defrosting, reheating. It's just convection for baking items that take less than 15 minutes, biscuits, cookies, pizzas, muffins. It broils because it goes as high as 450. We use a broiling trivet so I don't have to come back and flip the steaks over. Also,
because
it's cleaner broiling. It's closed-door broiling.
That's going to save you a lot of energy.
Right, and it's going to keep that heat out of the kitchen, too. And then there's combination cooking. Combination's going to give you the best of both worlds, the speed and efficiency of the microwave with the browning and crisping of hot air. For instance, this angel food cake. This was done in combination. It would take about 40 minutes in your conventional oven. It took 20 minutes in here because it combined 350 degrees of convection heat, hot air, and about a 10% or a low power level on microwave. Now, you don't go putting the metal pans in just the microwave method or in any microwave, because microwaves can't pass through metal to get to the food.
Wasn't there some danger of by putting metal in? Doesn't
some
it
microwaves, yes, because the microwaves might be reflected back to the magnetron tube to damage the oven. Most microwaves have a shielded tube that it might just blow a fuse or something rather than damaging the tube. But this oven, because it is a low percentage of microwave energy mixed with the heat, I could use the metal pan, and even though the microwaves couldn't go through the sides of the bottom, enough microwaves could enter from the top, reflect off the walls inside, to cut my cooking time in about half. Now we're going to...
that looks so light and fluffy.
We're going to do a torte, strawberry torte,
put some
with
of this down here.
Thank you. While we're talking about some other things, I thought we'd do this torte. Right there I have some little hot towels. And those little hot towels, I've talked a lot this summer about, with such a hot summer as it's been, beating the summertime heat and using your microwave to keep the heat out of the kitchen. For instance, doing your potatoes in the microwave to make potato salad, doing your pasta in there to make pasta salad, doing your corn on the cob in the microwave, and pre-cooking ribs and chicken in the microwave before going on the grill to prevent the overcooking and charring on the outside or else raw on the inside. And anytime you're eating ribs or chicken, you got to clean up. And this is just a nice little gesture.
And why the lemon?
Lemon makes your hands smell better, and when you've got ribs and chicken all over them, you can just squeeze a little lemon in. These would take about 10 seconds to heat this up. I've got 5 on the plate, so about, we just roll it up. It's kind of a little Oriental custom. And about a minute in the microwave is enough to get these steamy hot for guests to
they're
clean
wet,
up.
of course, and you put them in with the lemon in there, and
right, and then serve them to your guests right out of the microwave.
Cooking washcloths, folks. Okay.
Yes, we're cooking washcloths today. A lemon.
Now,
that lemon is a neat idea.
This is really interesting. You say that if you can just put this in, you don't have to put any holes in it or anything, just put it in as is?
For about 10 seconds, or an orange would do, or a grapefruit, 10 to 30 seconds, depending on the size of the fruit, and it will yield almost twice as much juice.
Now, why is that? Does it
Well, it's just really kind of warms it up a little bit, and it's just, the juice is just as good. But you know, if something is hard like this, if this was a little bit warm, it would be a little more pliable and squeeze easier. And that's basically the concept with doing that. I know in Florida when you have so much of your own fresh squeezed orange juice and all, great idea.
Well, I've never heard that. That's really a good, helpful tip. Avocados. Now, we buy these a lot of times, and they are not ripe.
And they are not ripe, but if you wanted to make a dip or some sort of a dish with your avocados, you can't ripen them in a microwave. It only takes time. Just takes time to ripen
a brown
them. But you can soften them by putting them in the microwave for about 1 minute. It will soften that avocado enough that you can use it for.
And you just put it in there as is, the way.
That's right. And then you want to let it stand and cool down till it is completely cool. Okay, I've cut the angel food cake in 3 different sections. Then I've taken the frozen strawberries and I've thawed them and I've drained off all of the juice, and I've mixed, the juice is in here. I've mixed that with some cornstarch, microwaved it for about, with a tablespoon of cornstarch for about 2 to 3 minutes on high, and that's going to be a glaze that we will pour over the top of this when it's done.
I have a question, and I probably should have asked you this before. Do you have a recipe for all this, or is there? Or we having just
the
have
address that we'll put up, they can.
You can get recipes from that too.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'd like to tell the audience that we are going to have an address for you. So if you want to grab a pencil and a piece of paper so that you can write that down, you'll be able to get recipes, and you'll be able to get a booklet that Sharp has to offer for you about how to buy a microwave, what to look for, and we're going to talk about that in a few moments after she finishes this wonderful angel food cake. And this is called a tort.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just a little, dressing it up just a little bit.
So now this is cool. I'm sorry.
This is a container, an 8-ounce container of Cool Whip, and the strawberries of the frozen of 1 16-ounce package of frozen strawberries. Of course, you can use fresh when the fresh are really in season. I've got a few fresh
and
ones
being down here
to garnish
near Plant City and all the strawberries.
Right, you get a little spoiled with all the seafood and fruit. I think I would adapt to Florida very well.
Okay, so now that took about 20 minutes to cook, which is about half the time, you were saying, right?
Right.
So that's going to cut your time a lot. If you are looking for a microwave, maybe we can talk a little bit about that now while you finish this up. How do I decide? I mean, obviously I want a microwave, but how do I decide what kind to buy? I mean, there's so many different sizes, there's so many different powers, wattage.
That's one of the most mind-boggling decisions in the marketplace today, because there are 38 different brands, there are a lot of different sizes, features. It's just very confusing to the consumer. So part of my job is training salespeople to sell microwave ovens. I spend a lot of time in teaching them to qualify customers. What's just happened is the oven has preheated to 375, and I will just let those cookies go for about 8 minutes on convection.
Okay, and we're not going to be able to see them at the end because we only have about 5 minutes left in the show.
All right, most people have seen chocolate chip cookies, but they do brown beautifully. I wanted you to see that you could bake 2 levels. All right, some of the questions that you might consider if buying a microwave oven. First of all, what type of cook are you? Do you enjoy baking breads and cakes and pies? Do you like to cook? If so, you might consider a convection microwave oven. And if you're looking for something to cook fast, just get out of the kitchen, you don't need a convection microwave. We've got several sizes. Then that's the next thing you need to determine. How many people are you cooking for?
Now, how would that indicate what size you need? If you're cooking for more people, obviously you're going to need a larger oven.
Right. Or if you enjoy entertaining, you might want a larger oven. The mid-size oven or family size, this one is the most popular size. Okay, this would hold about a 12 to 14-pound turkey. Another thing to consider, even if you do have a large family, is where are you going to put it? Determine where you would have space for it. There are a lot of varieties. You can either put them under the cabinet, hang them under the cabinet. Those are usually a smaller variety. You can build them into the wall with optional trim kits. You can put them on a cart. There are over-the-range varieties that take the place of a vent hood and have the light and the fan built in. There are just multiple options.
And something new is this little
I brought this because this has created a lot of excitement in the microwave industry this year. This is called the half pint. And we also have it in pink and red and blue and yellow, which has really appealed to college students.
I'd imagine that just the fact that it's so small and could go into a dorm room if you could sneak it in. I know
You
they don't
remember
allow
when we
them all
were
the
in
time.
college, we were all sneaking in toaster ovens and
And
hot
hot
plates.
plates.
Well, this is much safer. Plus, it cooks with 400 watts, which is a little lower wattage, which means it only draws 800 watts, which is less than a hair dryer, which every college girl has.
That's right.
And if there's any question in the dorm, you put a set of rabbit ears on there, and they won't have any
They
questions.
won't know the difference.
But it's just big enough for potatoes or frozen entrees or vegetables or you know,
like
the type
one
of thing a
person
college
cooking
student
almost, right.
would be cooking. One new feature that's great for elderly or senior citizens, we have new features called reheat sensors. That if I wanted to reheat leftovers or a cup of soup or a bowl of ravioli, rather than trying to figure out the timing and overcooking, many ovens today have a reheat sensor. I touch one pad. If you can touch one pad, you can reheat food fast.
And it just, you're telling it to reheat, and it's going to sense how much temperature, how much, and how long to cook that.
Right, power
Reheat it.
level and time.
That's wonderful.
Another thing to consider, would you prefer the manual type dial control, or would you rather have the touch? Because the microwaves come in all sizes in both varieties.
Okay. So we're just about out of time here towards the end of the show. This is beautiful. This is an angel food torte, shrimp scampi, and lots of tips for cooking vegetables, which is really great. And you can save all those vitamins instead of losing them in the water, right?
Right. Artichoke. Just
and
like that.
Just wrap it in saran wrap.
No dishes, no pots and pans to wash.
And that is even better. Okay, let's put the address up quickly. We are, you can write to Sharp Electronics Test Kitchen, care of 111 5th Avenue. That's the 8th floor, New York, New York, 10003. And you can get a free booklet on buying a microwave, or if you want some of the recipes that we had today, they're available at that address. Patty, thank you. Wonderful. Good information, and now I'm so hungry I don't know what I'm going to do. So I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm Carmen Roberts, and I hope to see you again next time.
Thank you.